fellow gardeners, Dawn here from Seasonal Designs. Today we are going to be planting up some Ranunculus corms, and I'm also going to plant up a few Dahlia tubers, and we're going to do a little bit of an experiment with those. Are you guys ready to get planting? Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do with your Ranunculus corms is you're going to want to soak them in water. When you get them, they are just this dried up, almost looks like a little piece of garden waste, and they need to swell up, and you do that by placing them in water. And so what I've done is I have 3 different varieties, so 3 different bowls. I'm soaking them in water that is room temperature for about 3 to 4 hours. You do not want to soak them for more than 4 hours. So once we are done with that, I will come back and we'll show you how to plant it up. So once these corms have soaked for about between 3 and 4 hours, they really plump up and they go from that dried up, shriveled little thing to something that really looks like a creature from outer space. But it's the corm, and it's much more pliable and much more full. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take potting mix that has been moistened. I've spread it out in a tray without any drainage holes, and you're simply going to place these with the little tubers hanging down right into the potting mix. And you can put these close together because we're not going to really grow this in here. All we're going to try to do is pre-sprout these. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking it and I'm just placing it down into my potting mix. That's a little guy, so I stuck them up here. And I am going to try to keep these separate because they are slightly different varieties. So I'm going to just do 3 sections of this tray here, just like this. And then once I get this all filled up, I'm going to put 1 more layer of moist potting mix over the top. And then I'm going to move these down into my basement where it is dark and cool. And I'm probably going to have to wait for about 2 weeks, and then I will be able to plant these up into the next size containers where I will be growing them until I put them out into my garden. Anything that looks like this, that doesn't look good. I'm not going to plant that up. You can see kind of the comparison. This doesn't look good. Don't waste your time. And again, I'm going to lightly cover these with a pre-moistened potting mix here. Being careful not to jumble them out of their positions. All right, next up, let's talk about the Dahlia tubers. And here's what I mean about an experiment. I did not store these properly at all. You're supposed to store them in like newspaper, shredded newspaper, or sawdust, something to keep them from A, totally drying out, or B, getting soft and mushy. I didn't do either of that. I stored them in a plastic bag that I left kind of open, and I just stored them in the basement. And there's like nothing mushy on these at all. There's nothing that is, I don't know, too dried out. Maybe this guy's too dried out, but this is what they looked like when they came to me in the mail when I got them last year. So I only have a couple of tuber chunks that I stored this way, and I'm just gonna pot them up and we're gonna see what happens. I do have other Dahlia tubers on the way to me that I will also be planting up, but I thought this would be just kind of a good experiment to see if you truly have to store them the right way or not. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to plant these up in separate containers. I have good potting mix here in the bottom of this. I'm going to stick my tuber in, and then I'm going to add some more potting mix to cover this up. I'm going to give them a little bit of a drink, And then I will show you what I'm going to do with both these and my Ranunculus corms here. Just like that. All right, so what's next? For my Ranunculus corms here, I've got them now covered with soil that's moist. You're going to want to keep the soil moist, never wet, and not bone dry. And you're going to put it in a cool, dark location until it starts forming some roots. And so you're going to want to come and check on this every couple of days, make sure there's no rot. And you can start, pulling these out and seeing if there's any root growth on these. And once that happens, you could plant them outside if it were warm enough. Or like me, since it's only February here in Wisconsin, I'm going to plant these up into larger containers so that they can spend a little bit more time in my greenhouse before I put them outside. Dahlias, on the other hand, like it warm. I'm going to give this a good drink of water. I'm going to also put it in a dark location, but I'm going to put it on a heat mat, kind of kept at a low temperature, just to encourage these to start growing. Once I see growth come out of the top, I'm going to move these into a full sun location that's also very warm and let them grow on until these go out in my garden. I'll probably put my Ranunculus corms out in my garden probably the beginning of May and keep a close eye on them for frost and cover them as needed. However, for my dahlias, this guy isn't going to go out until I plant my tomatoes out into the garden. That's when I'll be moving these guys outside. So let's go take a look at where they're going to spend the next week or two. Well, that is it, guys, for today's video. I hope you found some useful information. I'll check back in with you doing like a YouTube Shorts video and kind of let you know what's going on with my corms as well as my tubers and see if my experiment is a success or not. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.